Have you ever wondered how the conflict between Palestine and Israel began? Well, let's rewind time a bit, shall we? Picture a region once known as Canaan, a land brimming with ancient civilizations. This area, rich in history and culture, was the cradle of the Jewish kingdoms. The echoes of King David and Solomon still resonate in the wind. Fast forward a few centuries and we find the Romans asserting their rule, their empire stretching across the Mediterranean. The region, however, remained a vital center for Judaism, even under the heel of Roman boots. Then, there's a change in the winds. The 7th century heralded the arrival of early Muslim conquests. The region, now under the Islamic Caliphate, became a significant hub, not just for Judaism but also for Islam. This land, the land we now call Palestine and Israel, has been a melting pot of cultures, religions, and empires for thousands of years. Fast forward to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the control of the region takes a significant turn. As the Ottoman Empire, which had ruled the region for over 4 centuries, began to wane, the world powers of the time saw an opportunity. The British, French, and Russians had their eyes on the Middle East, and as World War I erupted, the region became a battleground for influence and control. The British in particular were keen on establishing their presence in the region. They promised support to the Arabs in their revolt against the Ottomans, hinting at the prospect of an independent Arab state. Simultaneously, they made agreements with the French and Russians to carve up the Ottoman Empire between them after the war. In the midst of the war, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration in 1917. This was a public statement announcing support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. It was a promise that would have far-reaching consequences. After the war, as the dust settled, the League of Nations granted Britain the mandate to govern Palestine. The British, who had made promises to both the Arabs and the Jews, now found themselves in a difficult position. Under British rule, Jewish immigration to Palestine increased significantly, fueled by the horrors of anti-Semitism in Europe. The Jewish population grew from around 85,000 at the beginning of the mandate to nearly 500,000 by the end of World War II. This influx of Jewish immigrants seeking refuge and a homeland was met with growing resistance from the local Arab population. The British, caught between the promises they had made and the realities on the ground, struggled to maintain control. Tensions between the Jewish and Arab communities escalated, leading to a series of violent clashes. The seeds of the modern conflict were sown during this period, under the shadow of global war and colonial rule. The Ottoman rule and the British Mandate, 2 significant periods in the history of Palestine and Israel, set the stage for a conflict that continues to shape the region to this day. 1948 marks a pivotal year in the history of Palestine and Israel. But why? Let's delve into this. As World War II came to an end, so did the British Mandate over Palestine. The British, weary from the war and the escalating tension between Jews and Arabs in Palestine, decided in 1947 to hand over the issue to the United Nations. The UN in turn proposed a partition plan. This plan aimed to divide the land into 2 separate states, one Jewish and one Arab, with Jerusalem under international administration due to its religious significance. However, the proposal was met with mixed reactions. The Jewish Agency for Palestine accepted it, seeing an opportunity for a Jewish homeland, but it was rejected by the Arab countries and the Palestinian Arab leadership who felt it unjustly favored the Jewish community. Despite the disagreement, on May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, the head of the Jewish Agency, declared the establishment of the State of Israel. This declaration sparked immediate warfare. Neighboring Arab states, including Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, and Syria, launched military attacks in response to what they saw as an unfair partition of Palestine. This conflict is known as the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. The war raged on until 1949, with Israel successfully repelling the attacks and even expanding its territory beyond the boundaries set by the UN partition plan. The war ended with armistice agreements but without a formal peace treaty. The aftermath was a massive displacement of people. Over 700,000 Palestinian Arabs either fled or were expelled from their homes, an event known as the Nakba, or catastrophe in Arabic. The birth of Israel dramatically reshaped the map and the demographics of the region, setting the stage for decades of conflict. In the next scene, we'll delve deeper into these conflicts and the attempts made to achieve peace. From 1948 onwards, the region has been a hotbed of conflict and attempts at peace. What happened? Post the birth of Israel, the region got embroiled in a series of major wars. The first of these was the Six-Day War in 1967, a conflict that saw Israel successfully expanding its territory, seizing the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. However, these territorial gains only heightened tensions with neighboring Arab states. This tension reached a boiling point in 1973 with the Yom Kippur War, a surprise attack launched by Egypt and Syria on the Jewish Day of Atonement. Although Israel managed to repel the offensive, the war underscored the urgent need for peaceful resolution to the ongoing conflict. In 1993, the Oslo Accords marked a significant step towards peace. Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization for the first time recognized each other's right to exist. However, the accords were not without their challenges. Difficult issues such as the status of Jerusalem, borders, and the right of return for Palestinian refugees were left unresolved. The unresolved issues only served to fuel further conflicts. The First and Second Intifadas, uprisings against Israeli occupation, erupted in 1987 and 2000 respectively. These periods of intense conflict resulted in heavy casualties on both sides and further entrenched the divide between the two communities. Over the years, the issue of Israeli settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem has become a major point of contention. While Israel sees it as a right to establish communities in these areas, Palestinians and much of the international community consider them illegal and an obstacle to peace. Further complicating the issue are the questions of borders and refugees. The precise boundaries between Israel and a future Palestinian state remain hotly contested. Moreover, the plight of Palestinian refugees, displaced from their homes during the wars, adds another layer of complexity to the conflict. Despite numerous attempts at peace, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains one of the world's most enduring and complex. Today, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict impacts millions of people, both in the region and around the world. But what does the future hold? In the present day, the political climate in the Israeli-Palestinian region is at a tipping point, with a complex interplay of domestic and international factors at work. On one hand, there are the internal dynamics within both Israel and Palestine, with shifting political landscapes and public sentiments that influence their respective stances on the conflict. On the other hand, we see the role of international actors who are often driven by their own geopolitical interests. The United Nations, the United States, the European Union, and Arab nations all have a stake in the resolution of the conflict. Their influence, however, is not always aligned and can sometimes exacerbate the tension. Amidst these power plays, the people on the ground bear the brunt. Everyday Palestinians and Israelis face the challenges of a life marked by checkpoints, walls, rocket attacks, and the ever-looming threat of violence. Their stories, often overlooked in the larger narrative, are a stark reminder of the human cost of the conflict. Looking ahead, the path to peace is fraught with challenges. There is no one-size-fits-all solution, and any approach must acknowledge and address the legitimate concerns of both parties. There are several potential paths forward, including the two-state solution, which envisions an independent Palestine alongside Israel, and the one-state solution, which proposes a single, bi-national state. However, these proposals are not without their critics, and their success hinges on a range of factors, including political will, security concerns, and mutual recognition of each other's rights. The road to peace is long and winding, and it requires not just the cessation of hostilities but also a process of reconciliation and healing. Only time will tell what the future holds for Palestine and Israel, but understanding their shared history is key to navigating the path to peace. The history of Palestine and Israel is complex, diverse, and filled with both conflict and coexistence. The chronicles we've traversed today have taken us from ancient times through the rule of the Ottomans and the British Mandate to the birth of Israel. It's a journey marked by dramatic shifts and profound transformations. We've examined the conflicts that have raged and the peace attempts that have been made. These events, marked by hope, despair, courage, and determination, have shaped the lives of countless individuals and the destiny of two nations. Today, we find ourselves in a scenario that is as challenging as it is promising. The current landscape is a complex tapestry of political, social, and cultural threads, each one a testament to the resilience and resolve of the people of Palestine and Israel. And so, the quest for peace continues, driven by the shared history and shared hope of the people of Palestine and Israel.